Hi friends, it's Missy Shipman with Missy's Glad Heart Studio. I'm delighted to partner with the Baldwinsville Public Library to bring you our May 2024 card making class. Tonight we'll be creating 3 cards, and then I'll also share with you how to create this fun pouch made out of one piece of 12 by 12 designer series paper. When you picked up your supplies this month, you found this colorful packet pouch with the supplies for 3 cards inside. Let's begin with the Pinwheel card. I'll set aside the other supplies. And this is the one that has the polka dot on the flaps of the envelope. There's lots of little pieces, so be careful when you open things up. You'll have your card base and then the supplies that we need for our decorating. Now these card pieces measure 2 pieces, 2 5/8 squares, 2 by 2 5/8 by 2 5/8, 2 of those. That's going to create our base on which we're going to glue our squares. And then 8 1 1/4 inch squares. Now the best thing is to have 2 contrasting patterns. Our papers are double-sided, so you can mix and match. This yellow and green combination would be lovely. I'm going to make another one that's very similar to the sample that I created first. And the paper is a floral image and then a geometric pattern. So let's begin by making that centerpiece of the pinwheel. And we're going to use our glue. I prefer to use this multi-purpose liquid glue. Dot, 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 a little goes a long way, kind of make a thread. And you just need it in the center of one of the squares because you want these diagonal pieces to be hanging over. Now we're going to start with one square. And we're not going to put adhesive on all of it, just on one corner, a little bit of a dot. And that corner is going to be on the right as I position it up in that diamond area. Okay. Now for the next ones, I can put a small amount of glue on the full square. And I'm going to go around in clockwise fashion, alternating the patterns. So it's a floral, then it's a geometric, and so on, alternating as I go along. Just adding a small amount of glue. You can use a tape runner glue, our snail, our Seal Plus, or you can use this liquid glue. I love, as you know, to use our Tombow liquid glue because it does give me a little bit of wiggle room if I need to adjust the positioning. And that's always helpful. So I'm alternating. And you'll see I'm just filling each of these triangles as I go around the shape. If there's a little off, it won't matter because we're going to put an embellishment in the center. So it won't matter if they line up exactly so. Now for this last piece, you'll see how the green is on top and the flower is underneath. So that's why we didn't put glue on this all of this first piece. We only put a little dot in on the right hand side. Now we're able to put glue on this final square, lift that piece without glue, and tuck it underneath. There we are. So now we have our pinwheel. This is a fun quilty pattern. I'm going to add our embellishment. This is a beautiful gem. And then we'll put that onto our full base. And I like to use dimensionals so it will pop out from the page. 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 1 in the center here. And we'll finish this with some stamping. Now, usually I recommend stamping first before we put any embellishments on here, but my stamp is going to be lower. I don't think I'll have any problem with it being too bumpy. I'll keep those measurements there for you to see a little bit. And we'll use some stamps now. I'm going to make a lovely Mother's Day card. And Mother's Day is not just for the moms, it's for all the women in our lives who contribute to our growing up and learning, and even big brothers and uncles can kind of count in that category as well. People who we've loved, who've been helpful in our growing up. So you are loved beyond measure. And then on the inside, I'm going to put the coordinating greeting that says Happy Mother's Day. There we are. This is a pretty color called Misty Moonlight. So I coordinated my color ink with the base color of the pinwheel. And that's all there is to it. It's a very simple card. It does give a little bit of a wow because it has that quilt-like pattern. And you can dress it up or simplify it. You can change the size of the squares, of course, to alter it as well. But these are 1 1/4 inch squares, and it fills the standard card very nicely. Next, let's create our second card for our May 2024 class. This one has some lovely Tulip Designer Series paper and a little bit of metallic blue paper in these circles. So it gives a lot of a fun shine, which complements the gold foil along the greeting. This envelope has a fun liner, either the yellow or yours might have blue inside it, just for a pop of color when your recipient opens the envelope. And this is a simple card. We're going to do some construction, but I want to share with you a tip. If you have a greeting that's shorter than your banner width and you want to still use this cool banner, I'm going to show you a tip for that. If you might also want to use a stamp that has a longer greeting, like this happy birthday or let's celebrate would fit right across. If you do that for your card, you won't need to fold it. You'll just place it directly onto your card with the dimensionals. But I'm going to share with you how to create a shortened banner and to have some dimensions. So you can see here that I've stamped in the center and then I folded the edges of the banner and added dimensionals to create the pop. Let's demonstrate how we do that. We're using Granny Apple Green ink, one of my favorites. I'm a big fan of all things green. I'm going to place the image thanks in the center of the banner like this. Move my ink so it, even though I like green, and I don't have a green thumb unless there's ink on it, so that often happens. What we're going to do is fold back, and I don't do any measuring. I'm just kind of eyeballing so that it's centered here. Fold back, and then another little fold next to it. So we've got a mountain fold and a valley fold. Same thing over here. I'm going to fold the banner back, and then probably about 1/4 inch, again, another fold. There you can see now this banner shape, and that will be ready to add to our design. This cardstock is a color called Pretty Peacock, and it's beautiful. It's a rich blue. And let me make sure I'm on camera here. I tried to zoom in so you could see very well. I've got a thin thread of the Tombow glue, multi-purpose glue. Gonna slide that in so that it's centered with that Pretty Peacock frame all the way around. And then I have these 2 circles. So you can be creative in how you'd like to position them on your card. I'm going to overlap them. So the blue one is just slightly off center to the right, the metallic blue. And then the other blue, it almost looks like a watercolor pattern, I'm going to place nearby. And for the banner, let's use some dimensionals to pop up that center spot so that it will jump off the card a little bit. Remove the wax liners, and there you have it. So I'm going to just position it so that those dimensionals are going to lock it down, and then the banner tips are kind of free here. Isn't that pretty? You can really see the sparkle, the foil. So this is a super simple card to construct. I do enjoy all of the colors with the tulips, and so it's a happy one for spring. We did have a lot of rain for April showers are bringing our beautiful May flowers. I've been so impressed by the flowering trees this year in my neighborhood. They seem more full than ever. So I'm wishing you a happy May, and hopefully you'll have a fun friend to send your thanks card to. Our third card tonight features some supplies from a recent paper pumpkin kit. I simply changed the design by slicing the front panel into 3 pieces, just to add a little more visual interest. It kind of looks like one of those triptych at a museum where there's 3 pieces of the art, or a divider in a room that has the different panels. And so it just adds a little more visual interest rather than having the full panel across the front. So these pieces measure 1 1/4 inches by let me make sure I have it. I don't want to do centimeters for you. I want to do inches by 5 1/4. And then the full card is the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it's just taken that front panel, the full piece, and sliced it into 3 pieces. In your kit, I've already done that for you. So again, we've got a fun sneak peek with the lily pads inside the envelope. And I took the piece of paper that was 1 piece and I cut it into thirds. So what I had to do was remove just a little bit, I think a 1/4 inch from one of the sides so that I would have room to stretch it across. And this card is a topper card. We call this a table topper when it stands like this vertically. It's a portrait design and the opening is at the bottom. The fold is at the top. It has some sweet words about the lotus flower. Long revered in cultures around the world, the lotus flower is beautiful, strong, and pure. As the sun rises, the lotus flower emerges from dark, murky water with a miraculously clean flower. At day's end, it closes and descends back into the water, ready to repeat the process the next day. And in my neighborhood, there's a pond that has beautiful lotus flowers that my neighbors and I enjoy walking to see. And there we go. We're going to use some of our Tombow adhesive. Just going to leave a small margin, a small frame all around the outside. And starting on the edge here, you can know that you've got the right dimension across. You're going to give that same dimension here. Sometimes I do the side and the side and then add the middle in case my measuring is a little bit off. Hopefully this time it will work right for us. Just adding some adhesive. So it's kind of like a puzzle now, those 3 pieces of designer series paper, or in this case, a piece from our paper pumpkin kit. Now the beautiful lotus flower is ready to add to our card, and we'll do that with dimensionals so that it has some pop. We like to call these water lilies too. Where I live, they are white and pink in the pond, and it's such a treat to see them when we walk. All right. Now you'll notice this design has a few different texture elements. These little shiny embellishments we'll add, and then also some texture from the linen thread. And I really love that contrast of texture, the kind of shiny, clean, and then this more natural piece. And what we'll do for this is just make a little nest. I'm just going to circle it. I'll do that again. I'm just going to circle it around my hand, my fingers like this. Whoops, it's springy. Try that again. There. And now I have just a little bit of a nest, and I'm going to be able to position that on the card. I'm going to just anchor it now with a dimensional so I can keep that in place for a minute. I'll do some stamping next. And we're going to use the stamp that came in that paper pumpkin kit. I do love using those to make the projects as well as to use for other projects. The paper pumpkin and the kits collection from Stampin' Up! Include a stamp set, the clear block, the ink, everything you need to make the cards. And then when you've completed the project as designed, you still have those stamps and ink to create more things with. Just to add a little bit of visual interest, I'm angling those edges instead of being straight. And then that's going to be positioned here. So let's go ahead and take our backing off of the dimensional where I put my little nest of twine. I'll put that here. And then this is going to just go on top. So we'll put a little bit of adhesive. Let's see, I don't want to be off camera again. There we go. So then I can position it and just place that right there. And lastly, we're going to add those pretty gems. You have a strip of yours, so you have plenty to share. I'm going to put just 3, but you have enough at 5. Odd numbers are great. Remember, it helps move our eye when we have the rule of 3 to make a triangle, but you have plenty. You could save them for another project, or you can use them on this card as well. So this is a lovely card to share with somebody who's made had an accomplishment recently, or has helped you in some way that's really special. You rise above the rest, and that's symbolic of the water lily or lotus blossom. There we have it. So these are our 3 cards for May. And in my final section, I'm going to share with you how to create this pouch. As a bonus for our May class today, I'm going to share with you how I created the paper pouch that held your card parts together when you picked them up from the library. Today I'm going to show off some beautiful designer series paper called Flowering Zinnias. It's just so spectacular. It's got those vibrant colors, and I'm going to use this really pretty zinnia piece to create a pouch. Now, what I love about this project is you don't have to do any scoring or measuring. It's an origami paper pouch. And we're going to start by folding to make a large triangle, point to point, lining up those points, and then using your fingers or a bone folder to make a nice crease. So it's one large triangle. Now we're going to create a kite shape by opening it up and taking our points along this score line here. We're going to fold this edge so that it meets the score line in the middle. And it doesn't have to be exact. You're just going to try to eyeball it. It's a little hard on camera to see where the score line is, but that's that. I've folded the paper in half. That's my line that I'm going toward. I'm going to use the bone folder. It's helpful to use a bone folder each time to make firm creases. Do the same on the other side. So bringing it in to the center score line. Do your best to have it match up, but again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You're going to kind of hide the seams. There we are. So now we have a kite, or it's kind of like an ice cream cone shape. We're going to bring up the bottom point, and it's going to be about an inch. I rarely measure, but I do have my ruler handy. So it's about an inch where this triangle tip is going to go across the line here. It's going to be taller, about 1 inch. Lining up the point with the score line and creasing. There we are. Looks like a little cup here. And we're going to just fold that top inch under to make it go flush now across the top. Next, we will fold in this bottom edge to match up with this crease, and that will be about a 90-degree angle now. Our goal is to make the pouch be a rectangle, so we're trying to get them to be pretty accurately close, but again, you're not measuring, and it's a very forgiving pattern. With origami, often it's symmetrical, and so what you do on one side, you do on the other side, and that's true of this project. We'll bring it in and crease like this, okay? Now, the last step before we add adhesive is to fold down from the top. Again, it's about an inch that I fold down from the top, and I'm lining up that center fold with the center fold here, and then I'll crease. So when I make a stack of these, they don't always line up exactly the same height. You'll see here, this one's a little taller than this one. That's okay. You want to be sure it's large enough to fit whatever you're going to put inside. And what I like to do is put cards inside, of course. So I have the cards from tonight's class that I'll be able to tuck inside here. Now, if you didn't want to use any adhesive, that would be okay if you tied it with a ribbon or something, or had some kind of seal here. But if you don't want to do that, I'm going to share with you how I add adhesive just to keep it a little bit sturdier. So where this little triangle piece is that's folding over, I'm going to add a small amount of tear and tape to the back. You could use other adhesive. Tombow works great, but it just takes time to dry, and I wanted to be able to show this to you easily. So I've got a little strip of tear and tape. I'm going to tuck it so it's inside here. It's going to go flat against the back. And that's just anchored, this triangle part that we flipped up, it's anchored it behind. Next, I'll put a couple strips of tear and tape along these edges. I can find the edge of my tape. There it is. I love tear and tape. It's very easy to use. It's easy to share with someone. You can pass it around the table very easily. And it's a nice firm hold for three-dimensional projects especially. We'll remove that liner, fold it over. And again, what this does is just help secure the shape of the pouch so that when you put things inside, it won't fall open. But it is quite deep. You could put candy or other fat things, some jewelry or something wrapped in tissue paper, but it works especially well for a set of cards like we made tonight. And then because we're doing the zinnia paper, how about some pretty zinnia seeds for a friend to tuck those in as well? Now, the sky's the limit with how you might choose to decorate your pouch. I kept them very simple for you at the library, but maybe you'll repurpose this in some way. I hope you will. And so think about how you might like to decorate it. You could tie it with a ribbon or create a belly band. You could tape it, and people could carefully open it, creating any kind of center decoration that you would like. Another idea is just to have a piece of paper that walks across and is anchored here, so this can tuck inside, and that way the person doesn't have to tear it. It just would be anchored. I'll show you what that would be like if I put a little bit of tear and tape at each end of the strip of paper. There we are. And if I put this down across, then the flap of the envelope has a place to tuck, and your recipient can reuse the envelope over and over and over. So thanks for being part of our May 2024 class at the Baldwinsville Public Library. Here again are our 3 cards. If you have any questions, please reach out to me. I love to answer questions. Questions help me learn things. And it's been a delight to share some time with you. Let me just get them lined up in our camera here so you can see what we have. And I look forward to seeing you in June. Thank you, friends.